difficulties are there in a working environment? It's a great question.
Yeah. For example, currently you're based in Singapore and you lead the marketing of Google in Vietnam and maybe in Asian, right?
Yeah.
Then from that, and again, like from beginning of the talk, I mentioned you are working with the top talent employee in the world, right? Any pressure for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I could probably answer best in the current context that I know, right? I see my role as a bridge between Vietnam and the rest of the world, right? One part of my job requires me to know Vietnam intimately, know our users, know what's happening on the ground, be locally relevant so that we're able to show up and connect with our users in a very, very helpful way. So I think number one, if you in the future are going to be in a local/regional role, that local market insight is incredibly valuable. So that's number one. I think number two is now how do you take all that insight and knowledge and learning and progress and confidence that you have in your country and communicate it to other people who don't share your insights yet. So I think number two here is invest in communication as a skill.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just like learn English. Like Vietnamese students are very good at being fluent in English, Korean, Japanese. You're very, very talented linguistically. What I mean in invest in communication is learn to speak in the different style of your audience, right? It means how do you do a verbal presentation? How do you have your pitch deck ready? How do you have a tight memo? And then how do you flex your style depending on your audience so that you're able to best show up and represent whatever part of the business you're responsible for, whether it's your team, your business unit, or your country. So I think that overcoming communication barrier is a real one. A lot of people will encounter it, but I think if you invest in that amongst many other skills, that would definitely really help. And then if it's any comfort to you, COVID has stopped all business travel. It has forced the world to learn to work remotely, right? So before, I literally had to go on a plane and get on get in a car and go and try and see my client to feel like I can build a relationship with them. That was definitely true when I was doing business development. But now, with the world learning how to work remotely, it's actually an advantage if you're willing to use technology as well to help you make those connections more readily. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit cliche to say like be a team player, but definitely be a team player, right? In marketing, I call it a team sport. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the great work we do in marketing, we cannot do without collaboration and support from our PR and comms team, right? Without our government relations team, without our legal team, without our sales team. There is a whole team of people that are necessary for you to do great work.
We talk about the pressure of the environment currently change and many things in life, but in Google, I found that they have one of the very successful program called Shut Inside Yourself.
Yeah.
To teach the employee more about the mindfulness. Can you say a little bit about that? And about yourself in terms of like how you think about the well-being, balance on work, life, and personal, right? And I think that also good for the audience to learn from your own experience, and especially for the program from Google.
That's great. Such a great question to end on. Yeah, so I think at Google, I've learned to become more and more mindful. I think it's thanks to programs like Search Inside Yourself or, our coaching, our mentoring program. But at the heart of it, it's helping people find answers within themselves and find peace in themselves and do it in a way that's really, really empowering, right? I think, for example, it's very easy when you're in a corporate setting to feel frustrated, to feel disappointed. You're all MBAs. I mean, you're already high achievers as it is. And when you put high achievers together, they're going to have really high expectations of themselves. And sometimes, frankly, be really demanding and hard on themselves. And I think that tension with like high expectation, with honestly limited energy, limited resources, limited time, often comes into friction. That's where a lot of like, I think, stress come up. And so programs like Search Inside Yourself, or even coaching in general, look at you really asking like, what's important to you, right? Is it really important? And then second, helping you explore, why is it important to you? Because we sometimes say something is important, but we don't challenge why. Like, for example, why is it important for you to get to the top MBA? Why is it important for you to get promoted like 6 months ahead of your peer? Like, why is it important that you need this external validation or this award or whatever drives you at work? And I think that ability to examine like why can be really liberating when you realize it's probably informed by some kind of lived experience that you've had, or like a sub-personality that's part of like your very complicated personality. And then once you can recognize that is a sub-personality, or like it's that voice. I have many different voices, but it's like that particular voice that drives this type of behavior. You can then see it for what it is and then choose your next path, right? You can choose to be stressed out. You can choose to acknowledge it and then move on with a certain amount of like freedom and detachment. But at the heart of it, it's like being more aware and mindful about what's going on inside of you internally and why, and then deciding what you want to do with it. And I think that deciding what you want to do with it and how you want to behave and how you want to show up is what's going to put you back in the driver's seat, where you can be more in control of your life, right? More control of your career decisions, more control of your behaviors, just more in control of your thoughts.